When it came to getting justice in the Jeffrey Epstein case, the system completely failed. The Department of Justice released millions of pages of documents, but in a massive screw-up, they ended up exposing the very survivors they were supposed to protect. So today, we're going to dig into how a process that was meant to bring closure actually created new trauma, and what it tells us about the secrets that are still being kept. And that really is the question at the heart of all this, isn't it? We all demand transparency to hold powerful people accountable. But what happens when the very tools of that transparency get turned against the victims? It's a devastating paradox, where the search for justice can end up inflicting a whole new kind of harm. All right, so let's get right into it. How did this even happen? We're not just talking about a couple of typos or a single misplaced document here. This was a fundamental breakdown in the one process that is designed to keep sensitive information safe: redaction. It all kicks off with just the sheer volume of this thing, 3.5 million pages. To put that into perspective, that's like trying to read War and Peace more than 2,500 times. It's just a flood of information that was supposed to finally bring secrets into the light. But somewhere in that massive data dump, something went terribly, terribly wrong. The redactions, those black bars that are supposed to permanently shield identities, they were flawed. And what should have been a shield for victims became a spotlight. And you have to understand, this wasn't just some technical glitch on a server somewhere. No, this had a real, devastating human cost, and it fell directly on the survivors who had already been through the unimaginable. According to their own lawyers, over 100 survivors had their privacy shattered all over again. I mean, across thousands of places in those millions of pages, the redactions failed, and suddenly their identities were just out there for the world to see. And just look at what was released. This wasn't just some minor detail. We are talking about full names, private email addresses, and unbelievably, even nude photographs. This is the most sensitive personal information you can imagine, the very thing redactions exist to protect. So you can imagine the survivors' legal team jumped on this immediately. And listen to their focus here. It's not about pointing fingers, it's all about damage control. They're basically saying, look, let's fix this now before things get even worse. Okay, so what about the Department of Justice? I mean, they're the ones who made the mistake. How did they react when this all came to light? Well, a federal judge was actually about to haul the DOJ into a hearing to demand some answers. But right before it was supposed to start, it gets canceled. Why? Because the DOJ swooped in and promised the judge they'd handle it, that they'd fix everything internally. And this was their public game plan, right? A 3-step promise designed to show they were taking it seriously and try to restore some confidence. They said they'd work around the clock, fix every single mistake, and then re-release the documents the right way this time. So what was the official reason for this massive screw-up? Well, according to the Attorney General, it was just technical or human error. Pretty vague, right? A really simple explanation for an incredibly damaging and complex failure? The DOJ might have offered a simple explanation, but you can bet Washington, D.C. was not buying it. I mean, a failure this big, in a case this sensitive, it was guaranteed to set off a political firestorm. And you can really hear the outrage in this quote from Congressman Tim Burchett, who's on the committee investigating the case, calling the error egregious. That pretty much summed up how shocked everyone in Washington was, on both sides of the aisle, that this could even happen. But that feeling of, wow, we're all on the same page here, it didn't last long. The whole thing quickly turned into a political football. On one side, you had former President Trump kind of brushing it off, suggesting the country should just get on to something else. And his critics, well, they pounced on that, saying it was proof the powerful just want to sweep this whole thing under the rug and forget about the survivors. And believe me, the political fallout is far from over. The House Oversight Committee's big investigation is still rolling, and they're planning to bring in some really high-profile people, like former President Bill Clinton, for closed-door testimony. This story is definitely not going away anytime soon. So, okay, the DOJ is fixing the botched redactions. Problem solved, right? The story's over? Not even close. Because fixing the immediate problem has actually revealed some much, much deeper issues. Think about it. You can fix the black marks on a page, but that doesn't fix the real problem here, which is all the questions that still don't have answers. And this might be the craziest part of all. we might not even have all the documents. The DOJ is saying, yep, these 3.5 million pages, that's it. That's all you're going to get. But the folks in Congress who actually wrote the law, they think this might only be half of the total documents. And there's another huge piece of the puzzle that's just gone. See, by law, the DOJ can't just black stuff out. They have to actually explain why they're redacting something. This is to stop them from just hiding information for political reasons. But when they were asked when they'd provide those legal reasons, crickets, no answer. And that's where we are now. The whole reason people wanted these documents was for justice, for transparency. But this catastrophic failure shows how that search for truth can completely backfire and end up hurting the victims all over again. It leaves us with a really tough question. In our quest for transparency, how do we make absolutely sure that justice for survivors isn't the price we have to pay?